Universities are often remembered for more than just classes. They gave us lifelong friendships, mountains of student debt, and questionable comedies that age terribly. But they also deliver groundbreaking research, like experiments where rats learn to drive tiny cars. People are fascinated because, well, it's a rat driving a car. Sadly, tonight isn't just about that adorable science. Instead, we're diving into Donald Trump's escalating conflict with higher education, which he frames as a battle to save campuses from supposed radicals. On the campaign trail, Trump has pledged to take back campuses for so-called normal students. His rhetoric paints colleges as overrun with radicals and unsafe for ordinary learners. But his phrasing, "vanquish the radicals," feels less like policy and more like a rejected line from a B-movie villain. College, of course, isn't supposed to be about being normal. It's where people experiment with identities, aesthetics, and ideas before settling into adulthood. College is where reinvention thrives. In high school, you might have been awkward, Patrick. But in college, you could decide to become Pat, or, if bold enough, Trick. Reinvention lets you bury old embarrassments and emerge cooler, confident, and vape-equipped. This playful freedom is what makes universities unique, not bastions of normality, but laboratories of identity. And that's exactly what Trump's framing misses. Campuses are about exploration, not conformity. Beyond identity, Trump has specifically targeted universities like Harvard. His reasoning? He claims elite schools show disrespect to America. In speeches, he wavers through vague scolding before tacking on qualifiers like probably to his statements. It's almost as if a tiny fact-checker inside his brain panics mid-sentence and throws in random disclaimers. This petty grudge has now grown into an organized campaign to bend universities to his will. Conservative hostility toward academia is nothing new. Richard Nixon once called professors the enemy. Fox News has long mocked taxpayer-funded studies, especially their favorite example, shrimp on a treadmill. They've repeated the story endlessly, painting it as frivolous spending. Yet the actual treadmill cost less than $50, paid for by the researcher, and the study examined how marine life fights infection, something crucial for seafood safety. Hardly the scandal it's made out to be. These small studies can lead to huge discoveries. Fox's fixation on shrimp distracts from the fact that public research often pays dividends. But the shrimp treadmill is catchy TV, unlike grant-funded work that quietly improves lives. Conservatives portray it as academia wasting money, when in truth, such projects are often cheap, creative, and vital to public health. The treadmill shrimp became infamous not because it was useless, but because it was misunderstood. Another familiar attack, claims of liberal indoctrination. For years, Fox has highlighted campus craziness, seizing on small protests or quirky student demands. Conservatives frame these as proof that universities silence conservative thought. Yet the reality is more nuanced. Students like Stephen Miller, now a Trump ally, were already publishing opinion columns and appearing on Fox during college. Representation for conservative views has always existed. It just wasn't the only voice. The truth is, complaints about censorship or exclusion often mask a deeper goal. Not more diversity of thought, but less. Leaders like J.D. Vance openly admire Hungary's Orbán, who consolidated control over universities. Vance has suggested America should do the same, proposing de-wokification programs to reshape higher education in the right's image. This is less about freedom of speech and more about replacing one ideology with another. Recently, Trump's camp has leaned on anti-Semitism as a justification for cracking down on universities. After protests over Gaza, the administration framed schools as hotbeds of hate. A task force was formed, promising lawsuits and threats of bankrupting schools. And while it's true that campuses struggled to handle protests consistently, using this as a blanket excuse to gut funding reeks of opportunism rather than genuine concern. The administration's actions have been drastic. Columbia, a major protest site, lost $400 million in contracts within days of being investigated. Then came even more demands: reform admissions, change Middle Eastern studies oversight, and more. Faced with losing vital funding, Colombia folded quickly. Their compliance, however, only invited harsher measures, proof that giving in doesn't end the pressure, it accelerates it. Harvard, by contrast, chose to resist. When ordered to conduct ideological audits of faculty and students, they sued the federal government instead. The administration retaliated by freezing or canceling more than $3 billion in research funding. Harvard's fight shows the stakes. If even the wealthiest, most powerful schools can be bullied, smaller institutions stand little chance without collective resistance. The administration's strategy is clear: weaponize funding to impose political control. Universities are being investigated for having too few white men among faculty. Diversity grants for marginalized PhD students have been canceled. The supposed fight against anti-Semitism has turned into a sweeping ideological purge, one that undermines scientific independence and pushes academia toward political conformity. The consequences are dire. Medical trials for cancer and Alzheimer's patients have been abruptly halted, leaving participants without treatment. Private industry won't step in. These studies aren't designed for quick profits. Publicly funded research fills the gap between curiosity and innovation, but when funding is yanked, patients, scientists, and society all lose. These cuts aren't abstract. They're measured in real suffering and lost lives. History shows how frivolous research often drives breakthroughs. A hormone found in Gila monster venom inspired Ozempic. Studies on bee foraging shaped algorithms that now power billion-dollar industries. Even rats learning to drive cars gave insight into stress hormones linked to mental health. Science thrives when odd questions are pursued, and dies when politics dictates which curiosities are acceptable. Public research also fuels the economy. Every dollar invested by the NIH generates more than double in economic activity. Consider your smartphone. It's the product of thousands of academic breakthroughs across physics, chemistry, and computer science. Yet universities rarely get credit for the innovations they enable. When research is cut, so is the foundation that future industries rely upon. The real target isn't inefficiency or anti-Semitism, it's diversity and critical thought. By freezing grants tied to gender identity, DEI, or climate justice, the administration signals what kind of knowledge it wants erased. It's not about fixing higher ed, it's about forcing it into ideological conformity. This shift threatens to turn universities into training grounds for maintaining old hierarchies instead of challenging them. Federal judges have started noticing the bias. One Reagan-appointed judge called the administration's cuts the most blatant racial discrimination he'd ever seen from government. Yet the Supreme Court stepped in, blocking orders to reinstate canceled projects. That left universities caught in limbo, resources frozen, timelines collapsing, and patients or studies abandoned. The fight is ongoing, but for researchers, every month of uncertainty feels like years lost. What makes this situation truly chilling is not just the loss of money, it's the precedent. If the government can dictate what science is acceptable, then academic independence disappears. Universities stop being places of inquiry and become extensions of partisan politics. Even math professors start worrying about what's safe to teach. And when the culture of fear spreads that far, the freedom to pursue truth is already gone. Capitulation only fuels more pressure. Colombia's quick surrender didn't shield it. Within weeks, harsher demands came. The lesson is clear: universities cannot compromise their way to freedom. If they want to preserve their independence, they must resist, even at great cost. Because each concession chips away at the very core of academic freedom. Eventually, so much is given up that there's nothing left worth defending. The future of American higher education might come down to persistence. Universities must act like that shrimp on the treadmill, head down, legs pumping, refusing to stop no matter the obstacles. Progress isn't always glamorous, and resistance can look absurd, but the only way forward is to keep moving. Because knowledge, curiosity, and resilience are stronger than any political effort to hold them back.